makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In this episode, we are going to have a conversation with Yeliza Centeio. She is the founder and owner of Integral Marketing and Advertising, helping businesses scale and grow with her advertising and marketing company. Good morning, Yeliza. What a great pleasure to have this conversation with you. You are the founder and owner of Integral and have over 15 years of experience. You know, reading about you is interesting because you work for both sides of marketing, agency and house. And then the great part about it, you forget about it. I'm just going to start my own. So what led you to this career path?
It's a interesting question that I've been getting a lot recently, and I'm still really exploring the right answer to it. But I would say for me, it was just many years of being in this industry and seeing things I didn't like happening on the agency side. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I went to a vocational high school where I took marketing education, and one of my classes senior years was entrepreneurship, and I fell in love. It just felt like that was me. And I always toyed around with different business ideas. I did a little bit in the fashion world. I did a little bit of baking. I made cookies, and I started a cookie business a while ago. Fashion show production, design. I did so many things, but nothing actually stuck. And I felt like the whole time I was trying to run away from the advertising marketing world. As much as I loved it and was good at it, I just hated the culture, to be honest with you. And I worked at 8 or 9 different agencies, 2 brand side companies, and I encouraged the same type of things that in all of that, so it was, do I continue to find a company that has the same values that I have, that is open to diversity, that treats women properly, or do I just take the bull by the horns essentially and just start my own? As much as I've been running away, could this be my calling? Could this be the business that I've been meaning to start? And I started it very slowly. I started freelancing while I still had a full-time job, and I loved it. I loved the freedom to choose my own clients, to choose who I work with, to set the stage for how I was going to be respected and my voice being heard, without the pettiness that came with a lot of the agency side experience. But one thing I realized during freelancing is this is too lonely. I like people. I want to work with people. I don't want to be alone for the next, 60 years or however long this career lasts. So very organically, it started with one client where they wanted more than just media planning and buying services, which is my area of expertise. And I was like, well, I know a lot of people. I know a website designer. I know a website developer. Next thing you know, I was managing a giant website project, and I had never done that before, but I figured it out, right? Then it was, well, we also need creative, and we need this, that, and the other. And before I knew it, there were 11 people, reporting into me, so to speak, and I was paying them with my own company name, my own LLC name. Everything was coming out of my payroll account. And I realized I had a business. And then it became, okay, let's make this real. I filed for the LLC. I did all the proper employment paperwork for the state of Massachusetts and federally, made sure I had an accountant in place so that all my taxes were lined up, and was learning all the new business side of agency I had never been exposed to, and ended up just loving it. It was very thrilling. And then it became time to sit down and figure out, okay, we've named the company Integral, and I know why that name matters to me, but why would that name matter to anyone else? What kind of talent am I looking to attract? What kind of clients do I want this company to attract? And I sat down with my team, and after many sessions of brainstorming and then hearing my story, like the raw version of the story, we came with the story that made sense and embellished everything I was feeling, but would also attract people that are diverse. And, my dream is to grow this company to a point where you have a page, the typical our team page on the website, and it looks like the color of the rainbow. I want
Ooh,
different ethnicities and backgrounds and religions and beliefs, and I want more women. I want to have more women leadership.
I love it.
Yeah, there's this stat that makes me sad, but I also love that recently came out, and that was in at the beginning of 2022, there were about 6,000 advertising agencies in the United States, which is, I believe, 12% higher than in 2021. So more businesses were started during the pandemic, just like mine was, but only 1% of those are actually led by women, or owned.
Wow.
1% led by 1% owned by women, 3% led by women out of the
Wow.
6,000 plus ad agencies in the United States. So not only is there an inequality issue with women being empowered to lead ad agencies and even found their own and kicked us off, but if we were to slice that down to minorities, like I'm Puerto Rican, I was born in Puerto Rico and raised in the United States, and it was hard for me to even find another Hispanic person at an agency. I was usually either the only one or the only one that wasn't mixed and actually still connected to the culture. There were a couple times I did encounter other Hispanics, but they were, 25% Hispanic or 50% Hispanic, but they never didn't even know how to speak the language,
100%.
never really went to Puerto Rico or anything like that. So it was hard to really connect at that level. And if you were to even go down to other nationalities like Indian, Trini, South American, Mexican, even more rare, African American, it's basically non-existent.
Wow. I never really think of it that way. That is something new I learned today. That's why I
Yeah.
love talking to other businesswomen, because you get to learn something interesting and new. So, what do you think that we as women can do to fix that gap? Because, like you said, 3%, 1% is not a good number. We're not doing good.
No. And I think what we need to do is just be an example to one another and help support one another and take the leap to start. I think um, speaking for myself specifically, but also it's been a conversation I've had with other like-minded women. What usually stops us is motherhood. And it becomes excuses. I don't have time. My kids need me. I need to run my kids here and there. I've got two little girls. They're 6 and 8. And it's not easy starting a business with two little ones. But how I approached it was including them. When I
Yes.
launched the business, they knew mommy was launching a business and they knew mommy was working extra hours and why. And they were supportive. My husband also, explained it and helped them understand. And sometimes they would bring me water to my desk and they're like, "Are you doing a good job, mama? We love you." And they kind of gave me that positive
Aww.
reinforcement, but it came from my husband being that person that was like, this is what mommy's doing. This is what it means. Um, and when I opened the office, they helped move in furniture and the decor. They helped with painting the one accent wall we had. We got them involved and included in this. And it's hard because I don't necessarily have the time to be involved in absolutely everything, but my husband and I do a good job of tag teaming. There have been times for him to do his business. He's had to miss dance recitals, and I'm there recording everything and making sure that he is aware and feels part of it. And then, I missed a field trip one day, and he stepped in and went to the zoo, and we
Aww.
kind of make it work and do what we have to do to make sure the girls feel that they're supported, but they know mommy and daddy are working for something bigger and better, and mommy's busy, and mommy's not going to make dinner every single night, and mommy's not going to be home by 5 p.m. every night, and it's okay. And I think that stops a lot of women from taking that approach to become leaders in their fields because of the time consumption or to even start their own.
Yes, I agree, and I think it's kind of funny you said that, because the whole purpose, I wanted to be able to start my own, even I owned business before, but in 2014 when I get, when I have my son, it was kind of like I can't go back to work. And that's how women come to place. That was how the vision come. And it's funny, my son know every single part of woman, literally. Um, the other day he said to me, "Mommy, when I become the president, I think I need to make some changes. I think women need more than just business. I think some women don't know how to cook properly. So I think cooking classes might be a good thing to add to the business too." And it was just the funniest thing ever. Listening to him making plan to take over, I'm like, I'm not even dead yet. I'm still alive. And he's looking at me. I'm not planning for you to die before I take over. You retired, and I will take over. But
Oh my
it's
God, I love that.
he knows every client, woman, every client we have, he knows them. No, he knows their name, he knows what they do. Like, for example, I was on your website for the past few days and he was checking it out. He's like, I like that website. I like the logo. But how do I say the name? Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe we should watch a YouTube video. So we'll figure out how to say the name properly, mommy. No, you should ask her that question. I think she will like that question. It's just funny. And I agree with
That's
you. When we put
adorable.
our kids into it, it makes a huge difference. A lot of people used to ask me, why is your son always up at 1 in the morning? Well, that's because I'm up at 1 in the morning working.
Yeah,
So he stays up with me. So he get used to it. But have your kids part of what you are doing. They actually, it's a good thing for them actually, because they get to learn business. How would I know by the age
hmm,
of 5 my son will know what WordPress is and be able to actually build a website by himself on WordPress? Understand, I need a domain, I need this, I need a hosting, and understand what they
hmm.
are. Is the fact that he watched me doing it since he was a baby. He grew up with it.
Exactly.
So I agree with
Exactly.
you on what you said. We need to do that. And don't be afraid of starting a business because of the kids. Actually, it's good for the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And at the very beginning, I did get a lot of criticism from people, some people
I did
near
too.
me, and they would say, "Oh, you're not going to have time for the girls. What are you doing? Like, you got to make sure that the girls are taken care of first." And obviously, they're my kids. They're my world. I make sure they're put first, but I can't forget about me. And I can't forget about what makes me fulfilled and happy at the end of the day. And I'm just simply not cut out to be a stay at home mom. I knew that from the beginning. And I've always worked and I've always involved my girls. Like, there's actual pictures of me working with my first daughter when she was just like 3 or 4 months old. And she would be on my lap while I'm typing away and getting all my work done. And that's all she's ever known. Now she's 8 years old. She respects my hustle. She respects that I work. She's very compassionate. You can tell she also is a hard worker. And I gave her my old MacBook and she's, coding and going on all these websites and writing like journals in Word doc and all these things. And it's amazing to see. It's also amazing to hear how my two daughters talk when they're having playtime, imaginative play. And I walk by the room and I hear them talking about businesses and this one owns this store. And like, they're talking as leaders. They're not talking as I'm working for this store. It's this Barbie doll or this doll that we're playing with is the owner. And that means so much to me. And even for Mother's Day, my daughter did one of those questionnaires in kindergarten, the 6-year-old, and it was like, "Mom, what is mommy's favorite color? Mommy's eye color? What does mommy like to eat?" And all these things. And at the end, when it came to what does mommy do, and she wrote, "Mommy owns her own business, and she's a fashion designer." And while I'm not a fashion designer, that's a side of me she knows, the fashion side, because I take time and I sketch with them and we sew things together. So she thinks mommy owns her business and she's a fashion designer. And then the other one, in her little journal questionnaire at school, wrote, there was a question, it was like, one thing you don't know about me. And she wrote, my mom owns her own business and it's called Integral. And seeing those things come home from school breaks me down, but it also it just fills me with so much joy. Like, they understand, they're involved, they understand the role that they play in this, and they are feeling loved and they feel secured and they're not feeling abandoned and left out.
And they are feeling proud, and that's the whole purpose. They are proud to go somewhere. It's like when I go to the park with my son, and they're like, "So wait," the other kids, "So what, your mommy? Oh, mommy own her own business." And they're proud to actually explain what the business is. Like, they are proud to go out and say, "Mommy, do this. Mommy is doing that." And I think every
Yeah.
woman should look at it that way. Your kids
Yep.
are
I
proud of you.
100% agree.
Yes.
Yep. It's an amazing feeling. I get very teary-eyed and emotional, like when I think of stuff like that, and I hear it from them, because as moms we always beat ourselves up and we think we're working too much, we're working too many hours. Are we thinking about ourselves more than we're thinking about them? I mean, it's that evil DJ in our heads constantly telling us we're doing a bad job somewhere, right? And to hear your kids just randomly saying things like that, it's a reinforcement for me. It's what energizes me. And there are days when I just feel unmotivated, or I wake up and I'm too tired because I put in so many hours the night before, something like that. And it's almost like instinctively they know and they uplift me. And all of a sudden I'm back at it. I'm working. I come home to their smiley faces and they're like, "How was your day, mama? How was business today, mama? What did you do? Did you work with any clients today?" Like, they're interested. They want to know. And that fuels me. And I feel like more women should use that as fuel as well, instead of a crutch.
Well, what I usually said is that the day I give birth to my son, my purpose was born. So the reason why everything I do, that's the purpose right here. I'm not doing it just for myself, but also I'm doing it for him. So when I
Mm-hmm.
leave this world, he doesn't have to start from scratch because he has something he can hold on to. Either he will sell it or he will say, "Okay, I'm becoming the new CEO." Either way, he's not starting from scratch. And that's the same thing for your daughters. They are not
Mm-hmm.
starting from scratch. They have something to hold on to. But compared to us as women, we have a full-time job. We're coming home at 10 p.m. at night. We don't see our kids. We're not a part of their life. And at the end of the day, they got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You're gone, and then all they have is a life insurance. How long can that life insurance possibly can take them? Whatever that company is going to give
Exactly.
you, it's not that much really. Just paying for college is like goodbye. That money is
Oh yeah.
gone.
Yeah. There
Just
it
paying for
goes. Yep.
college, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what we are doing as businesswomen, yes, it's hard. Yes, we get criticized for it. I remember one lady told me that next time you're having an event, don't bring your kids to it. I'm like, I'm a mom. What are you expecting?
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of funny to hear it from another woman. It was sad for me to
That's the
hear
sad
that.
part. You hear
Yes.
most of that stuff from other women. It's not, you would think you'd hear it from men.
Yeah,
It's
I
other
don't.
women that add to
Yes.
that criticism. And I think that that's the sad part, but it's also, it gives us the opportunity to educate them and show them what a woman leader can do and can achieve. I'm not going to sit here and say, you can have it all. It's easy. It's not. And there are days when it feels like, well, everything crumbled around me. But tomorrow's another day, and I get to crumble it up again, and it's fine. And we just keep on going. Um, I always tell myself, as long as those four little eyes open every single morning, and I see four little eyes looking at me, all's good. I just have another chance at either messing it up or making it better. And we just keep on
Amen.
going.
Amen to that. Usually when I'm like tired, you can see it on my face. I'm sitting in my desk. It's like, oh, forget about this. And my son will come back to Mom. We need to make money. Go back to work. Come
Yep.
on, you're not working. I'm like, okay, I'll start working. Then let me start. But it's good, And I appreciate that you brought that in because women need to hear this. Don't let our kids be the one that because of the kids we can't do this. You actually can.
Mm-hmm.
And their kids will be your best supporter, your best friend, and your best cheerleader. So that's how I see it.
Yep.
But to move on, can you tell us about the company itself, the concept behind the name as well? I'm interested to know why you picked that name as well.
Yeah. Sure. So when I was sitting down thinking about, okay, I'm going to file for the LLC, what should I name this? And of course, some of the obvious things were coming to mind, like why Centeio, things that had to do with my name, but it just wasn't feeling like right. It didn't feel right to me. I couldn't connect to it. And then for some reason, the name Integral came in my mind. And when I started thinking about that and I couldn't brush it off as much as I tried to look for other inspiration and names, it came to me because every time I had a performance review, one thing I was always told by my managers was, you are so integral to this project. You're so integral to this team,
Hmm.
so integral to this agency. But then we come down to my race and it didn't feel very integral. all of a sudden, there were all these excuses why I wasn't getting the top max on my race. And I'm like, well, damn, if I've been so integral to everyone else, I might as well be integral to myself, right? And so that's kind of where it all started. And then I look up the name integral online and I look at the definition and it has mathematical ties. And I thought that's even more perfect. I didn't think about that. If you think about algebraic terms, and then it reminded me of when I was in high school learning algebra. I'm like, oh yeah, integral is an algebraic expression, and media planning and buying uses a lot of algebra. Like it's a very algebra heavy profession. So that was a perfect tying there. Then a couple days later, I'm taking a shower and I realize in the shower, that's when your best thoughts come in.
Oh, yeah.
The name integral in Spanish is integral, spelled the exact same way, with the exact same meaning. It is one of the few words in the Spanish and English dictionary that is spelled the exact same way and has exact same meaning, which is perfect for a bilingual business owner.
Integral. So that's how you say it in Spanish. Ooh,
yeah,
I even
integral.
like it better like that. Integral.
Yep, exactly, which was absolutely perfect for, a bilingual leader and a bilingual founded company.
So what is the Integral is all about?
So it is about, it is an advertising agency, full service. So we have a small team of 11 people and we can do everything from, business strategy, planning, buying of paid media, as well as organic strategy, all the way through creative, website development, public relations, content management, et cetera. So everything you expect from an advertising and marketing firm, we can do. But for me, what this means, what the business and the name means is truly being fully inclusive, and being able to support brands, not just with their current marketing initiatives that tend in most cases to be very generic or more focused on general market, which tends to be more Anglo, more of like your English speaking market, to be more diverse in their marketing approach and in their creative. So being able to be language inclusive and being more bilingual, not just English and Spanish, but, even within Spanish, there are so many different variations. The way that South Americans and Mexicans speak Spanish is different to the Caribbean Hispanic, like Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, and it's different to Spaniards from Spain. And so having that understanding and knowing the resources to tap into for different accents to be produced in the creative is very important to me and to this company as we grow, and making sure that in our general market approach, we're not excluding different diverse backgrounds that aren't necessarily looking at, ESPN and reading it in English. And, there's, just as an example, that we're including other types of media that is very African American focused, even if the numbers don't say that we should be there, and media that is Hispanic focused, even if the numbers don't say we should be there. It's not ignoring the research that has powered marketing and advertising for so many years, but it's ensuring that we're purposely being inclusive in our media approach and in our creative execution.
I love it. You're not leaving anyone behind. You're taking it all with you.
That is the goal. The agency is about 2 years old, and we're still very much of a startup. We only have 11 people on the team today, but we have so many resources that we can tap into. For example, I have a friend at a company here in Boston. She owns it. She's Puerto Rican. Her husband's Puerto Rican, and they can do very different accents for scripts. So I can send her a script for an audio spot, and I can tell her what accent I want. Or I want, 5 or 6 different accents, and between her and her family, they can achieve that. One of her daughters is non-binary, and so, if I need more of like a non-binary type of audience and approach, we go to her. If we need one that's more girly, more like with that typical woman voice, she has another daughter that can do that. Her husband can do 3 different accents, and she can do a few different accents as well. And so it's knowing where all these resources are to be able to bring that diversity to life without clients feeling like they have to have different marketing approaches. It's one marketing approach, and we're just making sure that everyone is included and heard, and that we are not bandwagoners, but just covering all bases.
Exactly. It's a one-stop shop. So, and they don't have to spend a lot of money left and right for the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. In the past, that other agencies have worked on brands where they have their, you know, think about the big, franchise types brands. I'm not going to mention any names, and they will have their general market strategy, which is again is very Anglo based, and that usually has the biggest budget, and it's got a separate budget. Then there's the Hispanic market, and then there's the African
Mm-hmm.
American market. I'm like, okay, they're not just three groups in the entire United States, first of all, and you don't have to have a separate budget for all of them. Everyone can be reached in the same strategy and umbrella. We are all equal. You can treat us all equally. Just make sure that the execution is diverse enough to where you're appearing in those various places from a media standpoint that you need to be on, and that the creative fits the content in where that ad is appearing.
Exactly. I love it. I never really heard of anyone, talk about it that way, because usually you see, yeah, like you said, that's for the black, that's for the white, that's for the Spanish, and well, I don't know, everyone else just forget about them.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, the creative execution can be very tone deaf. You can tell that it started with an a creative that was developed in English and then simply translated. And it doesn't really work that way. Especially, I can speak for myself in the Hispanic market. English and Spanish don't necessarily translate identical word for word. In order to get the same sentiment out, you may need to change the words that you're using. So a literal translation doesn't necessarily work. And in most cases, that is what you see. I'll turn on Univision, for example, and I'll see an ad for a brand that is very well known in the general market sense. And you see all their ads on the English speaking networks. And then all of a sudden you see the same exact Spanish ad, but it's just literally translated. I'm like, that just did not.
You're making me laugh.
This is why
So,
diversity is needed in the advertising space, so that someone like me can say, oh, hold on, that spot can't go out. And this is why.
oh my goodness. So, how can clients expect better results by hiring your services, by getting your services?
Yeah. I think it all comes down to the data. We track everything. Analytics is also very much a part of my background and my experience, and it's something that I believe wholeheartedly in. So the proof will be in the numbers, but
Yeah.
also in their long-term growth. I think that it's very clear and apparent, especially nowadays. Those case studies can be found everywhere where brands that are genuinely inclusive actually perform a lot better, have higher brand recollection from consumers, and consumers will value those brands for a longer time. And you even see it, in today's world with brands like Victoria's Secret, where they had their brand image and they were great for one specific avenue. It was all about women feeling very sexy and free with their
Mm-hmm.
bodies, to them completely changing and pivoting because they were very exclusive of certain sizes and ethnicities. And then the brand tried to pivot and it's just not doing well. And it was because it was a very clear, like, oops, we need to pivot to get onto the bandwagon versus just being inclusive with who they are as a brand. I don't think that brands need to completely forget what made them so special to begin with. It's more about taking what makes them special and including all different diverse backgrounds, religions, languages, whatever it may be, into their day-to-day communication. I don't think it needs to be a separate strategy. It's one cohesive strategy that appeals to everyone and it's contextually relevant where the brand is shown.
If anyone looked at it that way, I think the world would have been a better place a long time ago. You look at it,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah, I
I
mean, we
think,
can sit here all day long and talk about all these case studies, but I think the only thing we can do is empower each other to create these types of environments and just start now. I don't think that I'm going to change the world tomorrow by myself, but I think that together, the more we talk about these things and the more we bring it to life, for our kids, we can have a future where they don't even have to think about these things. Where, if my daughters choose to work for someone else other than this company in the future, they won't be put in situations like I was put into.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. But one thing that interests me is you work for both sides, agency and in-house. Which one is the best in your opinion?
They both had their challenges. For me, I'm an agency girl, and I think it comes down to personal preference. I think going more brand side, considered the marketing side. My experience was it was a lot more corporate than the agency world. You were more boxed in. This was your title, this was your role, and you kind of stick there. And what I experienced was that people that worked around me were not as motivated. They were more coasters. So it's more like the place you go to kind of just have your 9 to 5, make a good salary, go home, come back the next day. Whereas for me, the experience on the advertising agency side is it's very startup-y. Even on the bigger agencies, you still have that startup mentality in most cases. You are encouraged to think outside of your department, outside your
Mm-hmm.
role. You're encouraged to collaborate with others. It is more of a fun environment. Definitely, it's not 9 to 5. I think agencies they're known for being slave drivers, and I can attest to that. I mean, you're working 24/7 at an agency. Um, but I also think it's very thrilling and exciting to constantly be working on different accounts, different projects. You never know what the day has ahead. You come in with your to-do list, you think you're gonna do this, and you end up doing something completely different. And for me, I like to learn. I like to constantly be busy and doing different things. So that environment works for me. And so for that reason, I think agencies are better. But again, it's personal experience, personal opinion, hence why I started an agency.
Well, that's the reason why I asked you that, because I wanted to know why you picked the agency instead of something else. One thing I found interested as well. You said, "What if talent could step right in and no AOR commitment necessary?" Can you elaborate more on that for me?
Yes. So, kind of the standard agency process is a client has a need and you go straight into pitch mode, meaning there is a new business team that's already established, and the new business team leads the conversations with the clients. And this can take several weeks to several months before, going from new client introduction to attaining them as a client to actually getting to work. And so most of the time, if this client doesn't have an agency already set up while this process is going on with a new agency, they're dark in market until
Mm.
all the contracts are signed. This legal team and that legal team gets together, and that finance team and that finance team, and all those things are aligned. And then the pitch team, gives the account to account managers, and the account manager decides, okay, which media team is going to work on it, what creative team. Like, there's just too many people involved. The process can take a really long time. And it's just, in my opinion, not very efficient, especially for a client that has an immediate need. So what I decided to do from the get-go was we can skip all that. If the client wants to have an AOR, which is an agency of record agreement in place, fine, we're open to it. We can make that process pretty quick and seamless. We'll get our attorneys talking together, work with finance together with finance, and we'll do what we need to do. But at the same time, while that's happening, we can have a quick scope in place that takes care of the problem the client has in that moment. What are we trying to solve for in that moment? Let's get those teams working, and we'll figure out the logistics of the AOR. And if a client doesn't want to deal with procurement and doesn't want to have an AOR commitment because of the way things are internally, lots of red tape, especially the bigger the company is, I'm fine with that. We can just draft a quick scope. We're in agreement of what we're providing for this project. Let's get this project going.
Wow. I'm glad I
There's no
asked.
new business team. We're just like, we go right to it. Usually
Right
what I do
into
is if
it.
a client comes and says like, hey, I have a website need, great. I'll jump on the call with the client. I'll collect the information. Then the next call is literally the entire team that will be working on that website, and that's it. No other team needs to be involved unless the client wants it. I've worked at agencies where it's like the client will come in and say, I have a website need. And the agency lead would say, oh yeah, we can do a website for you, and we can do creative, and we can do media. And next thing you know, the client's eyeballs are like, whoa, I just need a website right now.
So you have a team of 11, if I remember properly, and you are a mom. You have a lot going on. But let's start with what is your favorite part of your job? Just being at the office every single day.
I like to win. So my favorite part is when I get to pitch a new client and talk to a new client and they actually select my firm to move forward with. That's my favorite part. I I hate losing. I'm like I have like that competitiveness in me, and so um, that's usually what makes a good day and what keeps me motivated. Is just like that want and that need to hear like, oh, we want to go with you, oh, we want to work with you. Like I literally thrive on that.
You are a mother of two, a wife, and what do you think is the hardest part of maintaining work-life balance as a businesswoman?
I think exactly that. Work-life balance is sort of a myth, in my opinion. I don't think there is such a thing as actually finding balance, but more of going day to day and putting your effort where it needs to go at that time. There are days when my business gets very little of me. That it just like I'm like barely making it through that day because my kids need me. And in that moment, my kids are my priority. Or maybe my husband has an event going on for his business and that's my priority that day. And I'm working out of my phone and just answering emails and kind of keeping things moving. And then there are days when my kids and my husband don't see me at all because my work is taking priority on that day. So, um, I think the balance part is hard. And for a long time, ever since I became a mom, I was always chasing balance. And it was, well, what does balance mean? And I would spend so many hours just trying to figure out how am I going to spend 10% of time here and 5% of my time there. And it honestly became too overwhelming. And I think that had me stressed out more than me just taking it day by day and seeing like, what is today's priority? Who actually needs me today? And just making sure that the decision I make in that moment is where I focus on. And with kids, they're always throwing curveballs at you. I could have a whole day planned out in the office and I get a call from school that one of them, which actually happened, busted her nose and I had to go to the hospital. Well, at that point, everything work related ends and I'm 100% focused on that kid and that situation. So I think I think as a society, we need to stop trying to find balance and more understand that it's not about balancing. It's about getting your priorities straight as they happen and as you need to, and focusing on that priority at that time. Otherwise, you go crazy.
Yes, where have you been all my life to explain this so easily? Actually, you're right. We can even when you have kids, even if you work for a job, it's the same way. You can't really predict it everything. It's hard to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So what is next for
Exactly.
you? What's next for you in the business? What's your future plan for?
Growth. I'm so excited about what I've created here, and I'm just anxious to spread the word and be able to attract more of that talent that I've been yearning for. My first FTE is a beautiful and talented young woman, and I'm just so excited to continue to you know culture her and get her up to speed and make her a fearless woman in this industry. And I think just passing that on and embracing other female leaders and encouraging more minorities to join the advertising community is a goal of mine. Like I've actually reached out to a couple of local universities here in the Boston area to see if I can speak to up and coming graduates about joining the advertising world and getting more people started early so that we don't have these issues in the future. But then also attracting clients that are ripe for this kind of change and want to have those inclusive strategies and approaches to their marketing so that just as a world will become a little bit more inclusive and uniformed.
Yes, but how can other women help you in that mission?
Connecting to others. I think that is important. I think networking in this industry is going to be key. So being able to find other women who have shattered that glass ceiling and are willing to mentor women like myself, because I'm not done learning. I'm not done evolving. I have so much to do. And so being able to find other women that are willing to say like, hey, I've been down this road that you're going through right now. Here are some of the hardships you're going to find, and let me connect you to some people that might be able to help along the way. I think that's all part of empowering each other. It's kind of hard to find that, which is sad. A lot of women in the space that are very successful that I have reached out to either haven't responded back or I just like aren't interested. And I think it's because they see me more as like a threat or a competition. I actually received a really negative response from someone I thought was going to be supportive when I reached out and said, here's what I'm doing. I would love, to pick your brain. And it was, well, why don't you just send the business my way? Like, why are you starting? And, instead of like, hey,
Wow.
I did this. I've been doing it for many years. Like, let me tell you how it's going to be. So I think that would be the best way to, for other women to help me. And vice versa, like it goes in the opposite direction too. And I think that's what we need more of, is more of what you're doing with your podcast and your magazine, and empowering women and getting women to know one another and creating those opportunities for us to help each other along the way and provide each other with feedback and introductions that will open doors. Because you see that in the men world a lot, and that's why men have been successful for many years. They go on these golf trips and they come back with like 17 different connections and 2 business leads. Like, it's insane. I hear about all these events that they attend, or they go out drinking, and next thing you know, they've made connections that have opened doors for them. As women, I don't think we have that. I personally have not experienced that, and I don't know of anyone else that has experienced that. So I think we need more of that in our world to be able to empower each other and not just break these glass ceilings as individuals, but together.
And I haven't experienced that either. And a lot of time I get a bunch of, I don't support other women. I don't want to help you. You are my competition. Well, sometimes
Yes.
they just tell me and they don't like me at all. Well, one of them take it further. I don't support Black people. Well, what can I say? I'm Black. I can't change my skin color. I'm stuck with it.
I've had that as well. I actually had someone once tell me that if I took classes to get rid of my accent, I would be more successful.
I'm not going to get rid of my accent. I love my accent. That's who I am. If I change it, then who am I? Am I white? Am I black? Am I yellow? I don't know who I am.
Exactly.
You know what?
Yeah.
I think that we will find this type of woman. I think they are out there. It's just hard to find them. And I think they are suffering just the same way we are. It's a matter of us keep paving the path and we'll find them. And I think eventually we will.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And, I give a lot of kudos to what you're doing. As soon as I looked into your magazine and your website and your social media and what you're doing, I think it's phenomenal. It was a no-brainer to me to be part of this. And I thank you so much for reaching out and including me in your mission. What you're doing is going to actually make a huge impact for us in any industry. And I wish you a ton of success, and I just cannot wait to see you soar.
Well, I say the same thing to you, because what you are doing is awesome too. So keep doing it and don't give up. One day, anything other woman said to you, just say whatever and just keep it going. Before I let you go,
It's
one more
fuel.
question. One more question for you. Is there any advice that you want to give to women out there who are struggling to make it?
Yeah, try and silence that negative DJ in your head. It's going to happen all the time. Your brain is going to tell you that you suck, that you are not good enough, that you have failed as a mother, that you have failed as a wife, that your house is falling apart, and that you suck at work. But just try really hard to not listen to that. I saw this quote on Pinterest one day scrolling, and it stuck in my head, and it became something that I tell myself every morning in the mirror while I'm doing my makeup, and I even turn it into my background on my computer. And it said, well, what if I fall? And then it said, but my darling, what if you fly? And I think we need to tell each other that every single morning. we're always, as women, I think we're programmed to think about failure first because we just don't want to be let down by failure. And so we kind of over prepared by thinking of everything that's going to go wrong. And I think we need to start shifting our mentality into what if we fly? And if we fall, we can just get back up. It's not like anyone broke our legs, right?
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for this opportunity to have this conversation with you. I appreciate it. And I learned so much, and what you are doing is amazing. Please keep on going and keep doing it no matter what others said, because we need more women to stand up, take a chance. And that's what we need to do so that the next generation of women can be better and, can have a better chance in this world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And again, I love what you're doing. Keep up the great work.
A great conversation with Yeliza. We said that starting a business is not easy, but marketing is even worse in my point of view. Every business needs a proper marketing plan to grow, and it can be challenging for a small business to grow without one. Getting the right help from someone like Yeliza is necessary. Thank you, Yeliza, for taking the time to have this conversation with me. Let me know your thoughts about this episode with Yeliza. And to learn more about Yeliza and Integral Marketing and Advertising, visit www.integral-mktgadv.com. Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.